The following video may contain sensitive topics. The views and opinions of the presenter to these are plainly his own. Furthermore, any and all views and opinions of the presenter do not in any way reflect the views, opinions, statements, and advocacies of his personal contacts, his family, his affiliations, and his profession. While the presenter makes a commitment that all content is original, he is obliged to cite references or acknowledge resources mentioned or used in the production of this video. This disclaimer is also written in the description below.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. The year 2020 is what the world could consider as the Annus Horribilis of the 21st century to date. And indeed, it was a horrible year. But despite all that happened, all those upheavals, all those disasters, all those personal and general farewells, those that transitioned into the next step, and those that were considered the end of an era, 2020, for better or for worse, is a memorable year. Hi there, Riñon here. Now, before we continue with the final video for the year 2020, I have something to tell you. Now, if you're interested in all the stuff that I've been into so far, I would appreciate it if you would do me a favor. On the bottom right corner near the screen, there is a big red subscribe button there. Click it and make it gray, and then ring the notification bell by selecting all. Because I understand that most of my viewers are not yet subscribed to the channel, so it would be a very it would be a very great thing if you would do that for me. Also, I would appreciate it if you would share this video, my channel, and my Facebook page to everyone you know who wants to subscribe to a quality commentary-based Filipino YouTuber based in the Philippines, who is fighting the good fight to bend the trends of the mighty algorithm against the cringeworthy reprobates of this quarter of the McLuhanist virtual global village. Now, let me just take a sip of water here. Now let's get on with it, shall we? Now, 2020 was originally supposed to be the year I got married to my girlfriend of now 6 years. From the get-go of our relationship, we had marriage in mind, and until now, we still are together. Not because of the fancy perks of romance, but because it gives the couple a common purpose in mind and heart for the rest of their lives, which is, in our case, to raise children in a different manner than when we were raised ourselves by our own parents. Plus, of course, being inspired to do what we do best. Right now, it's my passion doing videos. She is into baking as of the moment, so todo suporta din ako dun. Now, we made our engagement official in 2018 and had all of that in mind. But then, all my plans were derailed in 2019. This was my personal Annus Horribilis. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because out of it, this YouTube channel was born, and because the year that followed, the beginning of a new decade, was the year when sickness struck and one bad news stacked on top of another. But here's the thing. For the first time, I was not a late bloomer or a laggard. But then again, I hated the fact that I was a pioneer in what the world experienced eventually. First it was me, then the whole world. And it's more of despair, depression, and all that. And it all began in a wet market in Wuhan as early as September 2019. What am I talking about? The birth of the coronavirus. But as Filipinos, we were not that aware back then what it really was. Our year began with a literal boom from a fire monster south of Manila. Taal volcano has its personal concern to me, as my mother's side of the family were residents of the lakeshore town of San Nicolas in Batangas, the site of the old capital of the province of Taal. The ruins of old St. Martin's Church was all that's left of the capital town after the volcano reshaped itself in 1754. That eruption was the worst case scenario that was feared by volcanologists, historians, and survivalism geeks alike, like me alike. On top of that was, of course, the fact that my mother's skin were greatly affected by this and have to deal with the ash and fissures that damage the houses there. For now, it's on alert level 1. We only hope that the big eruption that was feared would never happen. But then again, we prepare for the worst. By February, COVID-19 cases began to rise in the Philippines, and by March, the lockdowns and quarantines and protocols began. It was a long Lent and Easter for Christians and a somber Ramadan for Muslims. While our engagement was not finalized and sealed in 2020, we were still committed to get married as soon as the pandemic was over, or even before that. And that was what we promised to each other on the last time we went on a physical date, which was the day before the lockdowns began by midnight of the Ides of March. Yes, beware the Ides of March. Something is set to happen. Nangyari din to yung 2020. So yeah, it's really just coincidental. Now I miss her terribly, as much as I dare say she misses me. Nakakamiss din yung mga dates. It's really breaking my heart. Mind you. Kahit kalalaki-laking kong tao, talagang minsan naiisip ko rin, gusto ko rin talagang makita siya eh. At least 1 hour, at least 1 hour physically, sapat na sa akin yun eh. In this time. Pero I really would hope to spend the rest of my life with that girl. So yun, I would really ask for your prayers for that. This year was also a hard year for me personally, as I was not able to be in the spiritual front lines, as I have parents to take care of and myself to save health-wise. And I could only thank God for the leniency of the Catholic Church at this time. Because you all know mga kababayan, I am a Catholic. And just as we thought, when there's nothing worse than that, our country has experienced an economic recession and the loss of one of the largest broadcast networks on free television and radio due to technicalities and misplacement of political will. It's how we commemorate Cinco de Mayo. So, if Mexicans are celebrating the victory they won against the invading French, we are commemorating it as the day broadcast journalism and the Fourth Estate was tainted. Now, months later, Pandacan Church, the church where I was baptized, caught fire. And that same network that went off air a few months earlier lost its franchise renewal again due to technicalities and misplaced political will, as well as a very, very outdated legislation on broadcast media and telecommunications in general. If you might notice, sobrang outdated na yung mga batas natin. It needs reform, it needs amendments, and I really hope that before this administration ends, they would do that, because a lot of lives are at stake here. A lot of people's lives are at stake actually in not having an updated legislation on telecommunications, broadcast media, and other means of communication in general. So that's just my take in it. Then typhoon season hit, and we all know what happened back then. It's not really as I don't really want to dive deep into that, but it just um, it's just Ondoy all over again for Ulysses, and all those scenarios or all those scenes of people uh, trying to survive on the rooftops of their houses because their homes are flooded. Talagang it's just 2009 all over again. And yeah, it hits hard on me personally dahil my partner also lives in Marikina, so talagang shit. Grabe lang. But the hardest part was losing so many people along the way because of COVID-19 or other causes of death. Kobe Bryant, Ravi Zacharias, Vera Lynn, Perfecto Yasay, Danding Cojuangco, Monsignor Georg Gratzinger, the Benedictine Dom Benildos Maramba, Grant Imahara, the Dominicans Father Larry Faraon and Father Sonny Ramirez, Alfredo Lim, Emma Nimedes, Archbishop Oscar Cruz, Chadwick Boseman, Lloyd Cadena, Eddie Van Halen, Sean Connery, Diego Maradona, Jamir Garcia, Dax Labiano, the Jesuit Father Timofrasio and his brother, and just recently, Chuck Yeager, the world's very first supersonic pilot, and Kidlat Velasquez, the unborn child of Kong TV and V. Cortez. Many more known to us have died this year due to natural causes, but many more unknown people have also died this year due to impunity and despair, both through murder or through suicide, both of which just worsening the cycle of depression. Thus, defining 2020 not only as Annus Horribilis, but also as a year of breakdowns, despair, and wailing is an understatement. I cannot also enumerate how many events happened this year and how many were cancelled because of the pandemic. Good thing I have dedicated a logbook to keep track of the events as they happen. Because of hardware difficulties, I ended up doing a biglaang live in the wee hours of December 26th to tackle the year that would end by the time of this upload. The link to the Facebook video on my page is linked on the description below, so you can check that out. When I first started this channel, I was tempted to be some kind of online comentarista on matters that dealt with social media personalities. And while I still care about the people who made or broke themselves for what they have said and done for everyone to see, I dedicated myself and my channel to more serious, if not heavier stuff. Part of this observation and reflection was the fact that there are already dedicated YouTubers and social media personalities that tackle specific stuff. There's already the 1-2 punch of Nico David and Jericho Arceo for things social media and practical life as a Filipino and for not being an asshole. There's already Paul Lul, who provided insights behind the memes. There's Team Payaman, who provided entertainment without being a nuisance to the harshly mouthed general public. There are myriads of non-toxic gamers and vloggers such as the Boys of Pinoys and Senpai Kazu uh, and others who share how they are having fun and how they are dealing with the lives they chose to live. There are also already experts and professionals having to provide debunks and clarifications on certain matters, such as Doc Adam and the rest of the medical YouTubers, architect Leon Austria and engineer Slater Young for all things house building and planning, Kirby Araulio and Xiao Chua for history, Earthshaker for all things science, and Madame Info specifically for all things space and rocket science. Yes, I dabbled on being a Pinoy space cheerleader a la Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut, but she should have that honor. So, hats off to you, Madame Info. So, yun lang. I really hope that you would make more videos. Yun lang masasabi ko. So, I'm asking myself, what should I do now? Honestly, I don't know. And quite honestly, it's the imposter syndrome that I'm trying to fight against, because I cannot imitate these guys. They are doing their own thing. I have to find my own niche, and it's getting uglier by the day that I have been fighting this imposter syndrome of some sort. So it's really complicated. Now, you see, apart from the reasons I pointed out in my Advent hiatus video, there seems to be a niche where nobody wants to go to. At least somewhere no half-hearted YouTuber is courageous enough to venture into. But if I should go back to my roots as a college kid who had nothing to lose and merely scraping the battle for acceptance and appreciation, it seems that I should go back to helping people in the ministry out and rediscovering my pioneering spirit with Catholicism and social media. But then again, I don't want to bypass the guy who believed in my skills, though I doubted myself. I would like to be his collaborator again, and good thing that he's still considering me as such. But this time I am torn of if I would do my own thing and leave his team as a gesture of respect, or to remain in his team as its resident communications practitioner. Either way, I would like to contribute in where I excel most so far, and that is through social media and artistically, music and poetry. Sure, I am no Charles Wesley or Isaac Watts. In fact, I am a mere translator of their works. I have translated some of their hymns to Tagalog because I would like to let people know how to sing their hymns without having to learn the meaning of it in its original language, which is obviously English. Not that I find Filipino liturgical music inferior, and by no means they are, but to cut to the chase, I might have to be involved with making Filipino liturgical music more fitting for services, specifically for masses. Now, this project would take me a lot of time and a lot of face padding to get this done. Kailangan ko ring kapalan ng mukha ko para dito. But, we'll see. And so, in 2021, I would be working on either a new format for this existing channel or create a separate bare bones one where it would be just me singing hymns either in English or in Tagalog, and that's it. Either way, I thought of this decision as this coming year happened to be the 500th anniversary of the first contact between Filipinos and Spaniards, as well as the 500th year of Christianity in the Philippines. The Catholic Church has also declared the year from the 8th of December, this departing year, to the 8th of December 2021 as the year of St. Joseph. So it is such an interesting year ahead. With that said, I'm still looking for a good time for me to launch it, so I would ask for your prayers as well for that. Now, how about this channel? Well, there would be delays for me in dishing out videos due to the short time I have to develop this channel, as well as the fact that I am more focused on earning a living. But I would always discern if I would need to tackle things or leave them written but not spoken, just as this video. And in speaking of written, I actually have a Facebook page called Riñon Commentaries, and you would surely check out what I have been thinking about stuff that we normally see on social media. But then again, if it is very important, I could consider writing a script or written piece about it, or record a video, or both, depending on how much time it takes and depending on how important that topic is. So I really hope you would bear with me as I need to focus more on work than this project that I have. In short, don't worry, I would still be around. And besides, 2020 was not all doom and gloom. While most of it is that, space exploration and the quest for how life on Earth began lightened up our general mood through the launches made this year. In particular, SpaceX, Elon Musk's rocket company, did unthinkable feats this year and built upon the legacy they have made in the past. as mentioned in the Biglaang Live, if there was a big positive note that saved a rather horrible year, such as 2020, it was SpaceX. If Apollo 8 saved 1968, SpaceX saved 2020. Despite all that happened, all the wars, all the calamities, all the deaths, all the tragedies and uncertainties, 2020, for better or for worse, was a memorable year. And aside from a COVID-19 vaccine, we could only hope 2021 would be a better year for us all. In conclusion, 2020 was indeed the world's Annus Horribilis to date. And yet, it not only brought the worst of us, but also, and more importantly, the best of us. With the spirit of Christmas, we still experienced a winter of hope, though it was a summer of despair. Of course, that's the reverse in the southern hemisphere. But either way, it was definitely the worst of times, and it was indeed the best of times. And with all that said, this is Ian reminding you that at all times, from this year to the next and beyond, be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Until then, look alive, stay alive, and as far as my YouTube channel is concerned, see you next year. From me to all of you, and from my family to yours, have a merry rest of your Christmas, and we all hope for a bounce back for 2021. Ian out.